Hello, my nerds and nerdettes. First off, hooray! I can edit videos now instead of just recording a screen. Oh my goodness, thank goodness. But, anyway, this, yes, is a new video where I'll be going over a very cool what if idea that I had. Well, it's not really an idea that I had, but, it's something that came to my mind because I was thinking about this, but, what if the Sony movies, a lot of the Sony Spider-Man movies, were in fact Batman characters. So basically, I'm going to be pitching a sort of what if. That it's what if Batman owned the Sony. What if I can't speak. What if Sony owned the Batman rights? So this would basically take place in an alternate reality where DC was sort of MCU counterpart, and thus the DCU or DC Studios has a shared deal of Batman. And I'm going to try and make this a good universe because I'm not going to be one of those characters who just make it those YouTubers who make it a shot-for-shot remake of the movie with different characters. I'm going to try to make it different. And, yeah. So, hope you enjoy. Now, the first project in this sort of what-if universe is going to be the Venom counterpart, Deadshot. Floyd Lawton is a normal dad with a wife and kid that would be forced to get into the mercenary life when his old friend, Lonnie Mackin, I can't pronounce the name, who wants to help him on a job. On the job, Lawton would find two wrist guns that belonged to an old assassin that he would end up shooting. Yeah, he shoots like assassin, and he's very mortified of it. Looney would use this as blackmail and show Looney would use this as blackmail and show Floyd's family this evidence if he doesn't help him with the next few crimes of his and his gang, the anarchists. So basically, if Deadshot doesn't do what he says, his family's going to hate him, basically. Alright, during this time, Floyd would lose his wife to a divorce, and his wife would take their daughter, Zoe, from them. And after that, Floyd would not really know what to do, so he would just continuously help Looney. Or Anarchy. Yeah, I'm just going to reveal that. He's Anarchy. Looney is Anarchy. That's the first villain of this movie. One night, while fleeing from a scene, however, Looney would force Floyd to help mug two random people in an alley, but Floyd would accidentally shoot the two parents in front of their child, as it's revealed that those two adults were this universe's Martha and Thomas Wayne. Floyd would look at Bruce Wayne, the future Batman, and see basically his daughter as sort of representation, like what his daughter would think of him right now. Like shooting people, working for this anarchy group of people, and yeah. So yeah, Floyd would end up going against Anarchy and find out that Looney is the leader of a cult that also called the Anarchists. Yeah, the gang is secretly a cult, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. And will end up creating a suit to fight Looney and the Anarchist, but would end up becoming a vigilante of Gotham and decide to become a Punisher-type hero, killing the criminals of Gotham, and basically, that would be basically this movie. The next project in this, the Sony Batman universe would be the sequel to Deadshot War of Mercenaries. So basically, Deadshot has been a violent vigilante for about 3 months now, and has already made the city of Gotham safer for citizens. However, he has also made a very lot of enemies, including the Falcone crime family, specifically Sophia Falcone. And Sophia would end up hiring a hitman known as Slade Wilson, with a military background but a disabled with his missing eye and slightly less sanity than before the army. Sophia would decide to buy a super soldier serum from a corrupted government scientist, Jonathan Crane. The serum would enhance Slade to the highest ability, but he would go even more insane, killing Crane and Sophia and having only one goal in mind, his final order, to kill the vigilante, Deadshot. Yeah, in case you couldn't notice, Deathstroke is my Carnage counterpart. Slade would find out who Floyd's loved ones are, his ex-wife, and Zoe, and would attack them, killing Floyd's ex-wife, sadly, but Deadshot being able to save Zoe. Deadshot would fight Deathstroke in the final battle on the Gotham City docks, and it would end with Deadshot managing to stab Deathstroke with Deathstroke's own sword, due to Deathstroke basically just becoming a sort of wild animal, and just nonstop due to insanity, super serum, very, very, very experimental drugs in his brain. Deadshot would realize that him having any relationship with Zoe would put her in danger, and Deadshot would leave Gotham and his daughter in order to protect Zoe. Because basically a plot point in this movie would be that Deadshot is trying to make a relationship with his daughter for him, but he'd realize, I can't do that because it puts her in danger simply by being associated with me. So he would have to cut all ties with her in order to protect her. Sadly. But yeah. In a post-credit scene, however, we would see Amanda Waller would be shown holding a file of the Deadshot and saying that he needs to be recruited. Yeah, you're not going to see this until Deadshot 3. The next movie in this pseudo sort of what-if universe would be Man-Bat. Dr. Kurt Langstrom has been a top scientist for years and is even married to a fellow scientist, Francine Langstrom. However, Kurt would be suffering from a deafness for years and wants to find a cure. Kirk decides to work with bats, specifically vampire bats, to create a serum, and would get funding from his old friend, Drury Walker. However, the serum would fail, and Kurt, after testing it on himself, would become a monstrous bat creature that the news would call the Man-Bat. Kurt would tell Drury that it was a failure, but because Kirk didn't need hearing aids anymore, he would have hearing aids and stuff all the time. He would see it as in that way and think that Kurt just wants it for himself. Dre would hire scientists and tell them that since there aren't any vampire bats on hand, to just use a moth or something, just any kind of flying creature. He thinks it doesn't matter because he's very much a dumb billionaire that would definitely pull that thing. I'm not going to say who I'm referencing because there's probably going to be an army trying to kill me. But Bree would have this serum tested on himself and would become the killer moth, but have the ability to control his monster and human form transformations. Meanwhile, two cops, Harvey Bullock and David Cornwell, would be investigating the Man-Bat and end up arresting Kurt Langstrom. Kurt would break out after figuring out that Drury became a monster as well, and would end up going to his wife to hide for a little while. Drury would attack him at that time and would cause the death of Francine, and Kirk would end up finding Drury and finding out how to control his monster form in order to kill Drury for killing his wife. Yeah, in case you couldn't tell, this movie is very more closely inspired by the actual Morbius movie, which is the counterpart here, the real movie that this is counterparting. The reason is because I don't think there's that much wrong. Basically, just get rid of the post-credit scene, and I think it's a fine movie. It's fine. I'll watch it. I watch it sometimes. And the movie that I am fully rewriting is Madam Web, which the counterpart is Gotham City Sirens. So, in the first 20 minutes, it would be explained that Harley Quinn worked with the supercriminal The Joker for years after falling in love with him after being manipulated in, the freaking asylum. However, Harley would meet Poison Ivy while in prison, but would realize that Joker doesn't care about her thanks to Ivy. Ivy would, help her. Harley would leave the Joker and turn him into the police and go on a crime spree with Poison Ivy. During one of their crime sprees, Harley and Ivy would meet a cat burglar, and the three would become best friends. The original three Gotham City Sirens, Harley, Ivy, and Catwoman. Yes, Catwoman's in this universe. I bet you didn't accept that. Yeah. And not only that, but later, Harley and Ivy would end up becoming more than friends and fall in love, get married, and adopt a child. Harper Row, who would end up joining her mom's and Aunt Selena as a member of the Gotham City Sirens, the Bluebird. When this montage is over, it would be revealed that the Joker has been freed from prison after Harley put him in there, after the meeting of Harley and Ivy, and is basically going after Harley for putting him in jail. Yes. Joker would fight the city Sirens throughout the movie and even put Ivy in the ICU before Harley Quinn ends up facing Joker alone out of anger. During the fight, Catwoman, Bluebird, and Poison Ivy would use plants to move around, and they would all end up killing Joker. Yes, Joker's dying in this movie because I'm using the power of foresight. However, before Joker dies, he would stab Harley in the chest and or wherever there's a very, very needed organ or whatever. And sadly, Harley Quinn would die in this movie, but surrounded by one of her best friends, her wife, and her adoptive daughter. Hooray! Dying happily after being manipulated by that Joker. And yeah, only 2 more movies to go. Just bear with me if you don't like this, but if you love this, then please hit the like button and subscribe. Now, for the next movie, it is also the last of a sort of of the trilogy counterpart for this. The final movie is Deadshot, The Last Bullet. This is a much shorter pitch. Deadshot has been on the run, stopping crime around the country for about 8 months now. Suddenly, a man in a jetpack and using a flamethrower, a giant croc man, and a woman controlling rats would appear and basically start attacking him. Luckily, he'd managed to go away, and over the movie, we would see these 3 people continuously attack Deadshot. Yeah, that's it. My brain went dead for a second. But, until we'd get to basically our counterpart of that river scene in the actual Venom movie, where Deadshot would sadly get captured by Firefly, Ratcatcher, and Killer Croc. And then we would be introduced to Amanda Waller, who would reveal that she runs a team called the Outsiders, because this wouldn't be allowed to use the Suicide Squad since that's more DC general and not just Batman. But, so basically Amanda runs this team, and basically, uses them as the Suicide Squad, and they're the counterpart to the Suicide Squad. And she has kidnapped Floyd to make him a part of this team. However, Floyd would manage to break from his confinement, get his gear, and try to break out of the Argus facility, but Amanda, out of her rage, would free Killer Croc and King Shark, and the 2 would go on a rampage because they have not smelt blood for a long, long time, and they are animals, a shark and a crocodile. And so, we basically get a bunch of cameos from, a couple Batman villains, like Mr. Freeze, maybe Two-Face or something. Just, some ordinary, regular villains who you wouldn't expect to see. That would be cool for comic fans. But until Floyd would sacrifice himself by using 2 grenades to explode Killer Croc and King Shark. At the end of the movie, as our counterpart to that New York scene, we'd go back to Gotham and we would see Zoe Lawton, who we haven't seen since the last movie, going into school holding a picture of her and her dad, showing that her daughter still loved him, even if they're sadly never going to see each other again because Floyd is dead. The next project and final movie of this so-called universe is Bronze Tiger. In the movie, we would follow Benjamin Turner, who is on a mission to take down the League of Assassins. Because you see, Benjamin, or Bronze Tiger, was a member of the League of Assassins since a child, and him, along with his best friend, Eric Needham, both were trained personally by the leader of the League, Ra's al Ghul. Ben would be exposed to an experimental Rattler's Pit serum sort of thing that would give him increased strength and agility. Bronze Tiger would leave the League of Assassins with the help of Talia al Ghul, is now trying to take the League down for the torture he and many others were put through. However, Ra's would know this and decide to put Bronze Tiger against another person who's trying to kill him, Bane. Ben would track Bane Bane down after Eric was kidnapped by Bane, and the two would fight in the African desert. Bronze Tiger would manage to kill Bane by destroying his, tube thing that in this universe would be a sort of, healing, Lazarus juice that's pumping through his veins to give him not only increased strength, but keep him alive because he's, on his deathbed if he doesn't have that juice now. Anyway, Bronze Tiger would track down Ra's al Ghul after that, and the two would end up fighting as well, with Bronze Tiger managing to kill Ra's al Ghul after keeping him out of the Lazarus pit for long enough. And, have it be, a whole, if Ra's isn't if Ra's al Ghul is in a Lazarus pit for more than 24 hours, if he's out of that, then he's gonna die. And Bronze Tiger would manage to keep him away from that just for those 24 hours, so Ra's al Ghul was able to die, and the League of Assassins would be taken down. However, Eric would be revealed to be starting a new league called the League of Shadows as the new killer of the world, Black Spider. And yeah, that's the Sony Batman universe if it was my version. I tried to use the power of foresight to make it as fair as possible. Some of the movies were pretty close to the original movie of what ended up having its counterpart, like Man-Bat, and others were completely rewritten because I hate that movie, like Madam Web. And then, yeah, this was just a fun idea that I had that I wanted to expand upon and make a video, because that's really what this is. That's what my channel is about, just being a fan of these characters, having an idea, and wanting to share that story. That's what I am about. And, so yeah, this was one of the projects that I was working on for about, a week now. Yeah. I have another project that you should get in the next week or so that I'm just going to not tell you, but you'll get that once that video comes out. But yeah, peace.